In the early, frantic months of the year 2026, we find our collective consciousness trapped within a global civilization that has become a hollow sanctuary for meaningless, desperate, and cheap noise. We are currently living in a social architecture specifically engineered to devalue the human word to almost zero, encouraging every individual to broadcast their shallowest opinions, their unrefined emotions, and their petty grievances to a world that is already deaf from the volume. The year 2026 has turned silence into a source of anxiety, a terrifying vacuum that modern man tries to fill with the constant clatter of digital notifications and the endless stream of his own unnecessary explanations. But today, in the 48th chapter of the Timeless Wisdom Archives, we are decoding the most ancient and lethal weapon in the arsenal of the sovereign soul, the weapon of strategic silence. Christopher is here to remind you that your true power is not measured by the volume of your voice, but by the weight and the mystery of your silence. Every time you speak without a divine and calculated purpose, you are effectively leaking your vital life force and handing over the keys to your internal kingdom to anyone who happens to be listening. The world of the year 2026 wants you to react to every stimulus, the machine wants you to justify your existence, and the crowd wants you to join their chaotic choir of shared confusion. But a wise man knows that a word once released into the air can never be recalled, and a secret once shared is a blade handed directly to an enemy. In the year 2026, silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is the ultimate concentration of the will. It is the tactical pause that makes your enemies nervous and the strategic void that forces the rest of the world to reveal its hand while you remain perfectly hidden. We are learning today that the most dangerous person in any room is not the loud man shouting to be heard, but the one who is listening with a cold, unblinking intensity while saying absolutely nothing at all. Analyze the psychology of the void with me with a cold and penetrating gaze, and observe how the untrained human mind instinctively fears the unknown and tries desperately to fill every empty space with its own deep-seated insecurities and frantic babble. In the year 2026, most individuals are so fundamentally uncomfortable with their own internal emptiness that they use words as a fragile shield to protect themselves from the overwhelming weight of the truth. When you remain perfectly silent in the face of a direct insult, a complex question, or a deliberate provocation, you are not being passive or weak, you are engaging in a high-level, sophisticated psychological offensive. Your silence acts as a cold, unforgiving mirror, reflecting the other person's desperation, lack of control, and internal anxiety back onto themselves until they are forced to reveal their true nature. In the year 2026, information is the primary weapon of war, and by speaking significantly less, you become a living enigma, a complex puzzle that the algorithms of the machine cannot easily solve, track, or categorize. Christopher wants you to understand that the more you explain your actions and your motives, the more you diminish your natural mystery and your inherent authority. A sovereign individual does not offer explanations to the mediocre, and a true king never feels the need to justify his divine decrees to the unwashed crowd. When you speak significantly less than necessary, you automatically appear more powerful, more in control, and far more dangerous to those who would oppose you. In the year 2026, the wise man uses the sacred tool of silence to gather intelligence while the fool uses his own speech to give his power away for free. We are building the internal capacity today to sit in a room full of noise and remain a silent, sovereign observer, knowing with absolute certainty that the one who speaks last usually has the final word on reality itself. In the third and most vital layer of this transmission, we must explore the architecture of mystery and why the modern world of the year 2026 has forgotten the primal power of the unseen and the unspoken. Everyone today is obsessed with the false idol of transparency, but you must realize that transparency is often just a polite word for total vulnerability and the loss of tactical maneuverability. When everyone knows exactly what you are thinking, what you are feeling, and what you are planning for the future, you have no room left to move or to surprise the world. Strategic silence is the thick, protective fog that hides your movements and the ancient fortress that protects your inner sanctum from the prying eyes of the year 2026. Christopher is calling you to reclaim your sacred right to be private and your divine power to be completely mysterious to those around you. In this era, the person who tells the world every detail of their life is a person who the world treats as a common, disposable commodity with no lasting value. But the person who speaks only when their word can strike like a thunderbolt is treated with a divine reverence and a healthy sense of fear. Silence increases your perceived value and doubles the impact of every single sentence you eventually choose to utter in the year 2026. Every great leader in history, every master strategist, and every ancient sage understood that while words are like silver, the ability to remain silent is the purest form of gold. By withholding your thoughts, you force the world to pay closer and more fearful attention when you finally do choose to open your mouth. Your silence is not a wall, it is the sacred perimeter of your soul that no one should be allowed to cross without your explicit permission. As we move deeper into the sacred 48th chapter, we must confront the mastery of non-reaction as the ultimate form of modern defense. In the year 2026, the global machine is constantly poking you, prodding your emotions, and trying to trigger a predictable response so that it can measure you, track your weaknesses, and ultimately control your path. Every manufactured outrage, every social media bait, and every petty personal argument you encounter is a calculated test of your internal stability and your spiritual sovereignty. Strategic silence is your ultimate and impenetrable defense against this constant manipulation of the year 2026. When you refuse to react to the provocations, the insults, and the noise of the world, you are signaling to the universe that your internal peace is not for sale and that your valuable attention cannot be bought at any price. This absolute non-reaction is the most terrifying thing a manipulator can encounter, for they rely entirely on your predictable, emotional responses to achieve their dark goals. By remaining silent, you take the control back and place the burden of proof on the world. You become the immovable mountain that the screaming winds of the year 2026 cannot shake or even influence. Christopher wants you to understand that silence is the highest and most difficult form of self-control. It is the godlike ability to feel the white-hot fire of anger or the sharp sting of a personal insult and to let it burn itself out within the furnace of your own spirit without ever letting a single spark escape through your closed lips. In the year 2026, the man who can control his tongue can control his entire life, his final destiny, and his lasting impact on the world around him. Your silence is the evidence of a will that has been tempered in the fires of self-mastery until it is as hard as a diamond. We are now sealing this 48th chapter of the Timeless Wisdom Archives with a final, unbreakable, and sovereign decree for the year 2026. Your words are sacred vessels of your energy, and they should be guarded with the same intensity as your most precious and rare jewels. Do not scatter them like common gravel at the feet of those who do not possess the capacity to value your presence or understand your depth. Do not waste your divine breath trying to convince the blind to see the truth or the deaf to hear the music of the spheres. As you walk through the screaming, chaotic, and increasingly desperate streets of the year 2026, let your strategic silence be your most eloquent and powerful speech. Let your heavy presence be felt by everyone in the room without a single sound ever being made by your lips. While the rest of the world is drowning in the rising tide of their own meaningless noise, you will be floating in the clear, still waters of your own mental clarity. While they are begging for a moment of attention from the crowd, you will be commanding an ancient respect through your total absence of speech. This is Christopher, speaking from the deep and silent heart of the eternal archives, reminding you that the greatest and most transformative truths are never shouted from the rooftops, they are whispered in the profound silence between the heartbeats of the wise. The heavy gates of the 48th chapter are now officially closed, and the quietness of your sovereign mind is your new and eternal kingdom. Go forth into the year 2026 and be the silent observer, the quiet strategist, and the absolute master of your own words. Stay silent when others speak for the sake of hearing their own voices. Stay detached from the trivial storms of the era. Stay eternally wise in a world that has forgotten that the voice of God can only be heard in the absolute silence of the soul. Christopher, out.